Hey everybody, today we are going to solve equations by completing the square. In the previous lesson, we learned the skill of how to complete the square within the context of to make an expression a perfect square trinomial. So we're going to use that skill, and so if you'd like a refresher on how to do that, please refer to the previous video just titled Completing the Square, which was section 6-6. So today we're going to put that into practice and learn how to solve an equation by completing the square. So we're going to solve this equation right here, and we're going to solve it by completing the square. And so in order to do that, the first thing that we are going to do is step one, which is to move the constant term to the other side. So what I mean by that is our constant term here is the one without the variable, this positive 7. And so in order to move that to the other side of the equation, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. That is going to give us x squared plus 10x equaling negative 7. Step 2 is going to have us use the skill from the previous lesson, which is to complete the square. Over here on the right side of the page, we have a little reminder. We're going to take the coefficient from our x term, we're going to divide it by 2 and square it. Now when we produce that value, we need to add that value to both sides of the equation to keep the equation balanced. So our linear term coefficient is 10. We are going to take that divide it by 2 and square it, which is going to give us 25. We are going to add 25 to both the left side and the right side of the equation. That will give us x squared plus 10x plus 25, and then negative 7 plus 25 is equal to 18. If you will recall, by adding this 25 to x squared plus 10x, that allows us to then write this as the square of a binomial. Once again, feel free to refer to the previous lesson for some guidance on this. That is going to give us x plus 5, that quantity, squared. And as a friendly reminder, when we have that term, or divide this term by 2, this number and this number are always going to match. Now that we've done that, we are going to move forward to step 3, which is we're going to finish solving this equation by taking the square root of both sides of the equation. Don't forget that when we take the square root of both sides of an equation, we have to include this plus or minus here. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. That's going to give us x plus 5 equaling positive or negative radical 18. What we are then going to do is subtract 5 from both sides of the equation, which is going to give us x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 18. Now we're going to do negative 5 minus the square root of 18, which is equal to approximately negative 9.24. And once again, that's when we subtract. And then when we do negative 5 plus the square root of 18, we're going to get x is approximately equal to negative 0.76. And another friendly reminder, when we round, remember to do the approximately equal to or the squiggly equal sign to indicate that you were rounding. We're going to do one more example, and this example is going to contain an odd coefficient to our linear term. And just to have you see me go through another one of these problems here. So we're going to solve that equation, x squared plus 3x minus 7.5 equals 0. So we're going to execute or employ the same 3 steps. All right, the first step is we're going to move the constant term to the other side of the equation. Because this is a minus 1.75, we're going to add 1.75 to both sides of the equation. We're then going to take the coefficient of our linear term b, divide it by 2, and square it. So we have 3 over 2 squared. 1.5 squared is equal to 2.25. So we're going to add 2.25 to both sides of the equation, which will give us x squared plus 3x plus 2.25 equaling, and then 2.25 plus 1.75 is equal to 4. Now, recall once again that value here, when we take our b value and divide it by 2, that value always is going to match the value inside of the parentheses when we express that trinomial as the square of a binomial. And so now we're going to take the square root of both sides of the equation, just like we did in the previous example. And we will end up with x plus 1.5 equaling positive or negative 2. Once again, taking the positive or negative when we take the square root of both sides. The square root of 4, of course, is 2. We'll finish this by isolating the variable or solving for the variable, which would give us x is equal to negative 1.5 plus or minus 2. Negative 1.5 minus, negative 1.5 minus 2 is equal to negative 3.5. And negative 1.5 plus 2 is equal to 0.5. Once again, folks, any questions that you have, please do not hesitate to reach out to me on our Google chat page. Please post any questions that you have through there. Remember, when you're watching these videos, you can pause it at any time and rewatch it at any point. And that's going to be a really important thing, as you're trying to do some of this work on your own. Obviously, things aren't always going to stick immediately. So please remember that you can refer back to these videos and pause them whenever you like. Once again, thank you for all your work on your own. I really appreciate it, and I hope everyone's doing well.